to episode 14 of our third series on the surnames and early families of Appalachia and the American South. Today's families date back to colonial times. Their surnames have traveled thousands of miles to get to where they are today. One started its existence among the Teutonic peoples of Northern Europe, and others came to America from the bonny land of Scotland, Ireland, and England, as well as Normandy, France. This series is dedicated to the memories of those who gave us life and freedom. Speaking of freedom, if you'd like a free copy of the Surname Catalog, a list of names and episodes that have been covered thus far, stick around to the end to find out how you can get one. It's just an email away. Promises to be an informative show, so I hope you'll join me. Number 1, Guy. For some reason, when I received this request, it brought back to mind one of my favorite TV shows from my youth, Lost in Space. You might recall that John Robinson, the patriarch of the family, was played by a fellow by the name of Guy Williams. That, of course, was a stage name. His real name was Armando Joseph Catalano. The surname Catalano is an Italian habitational name that was originally given to an immigrant from Catalonia in Spain. Has really very little to do with Williams. Williams is more often associated with Wales, by the way. Nevertheless, the name Guy appealed to the man who played Professor Robinson. To find the origin of the surname Guy, we have to look back to the Normans, who introduced 10,000 words into the English language. Guy began its existence as a French personal name. In England and Ireland, it's a well-known family name. One of the earliest lines of Guy folks in the South that I could find was started by Hezekiah Guy. He was born in 1743 in Loudoun County, Virginia. Now, he had more than a dozen kids. Some moved with him to Ohio, while others stayed in the South. You might note that Hezekiah Jr. lived out his life in Pennsylvania. At the end of the day, I'm confident that Guy is from an antebellum family with genetic roots in England or Ireland with linguistic connections to Normandy, France. Number 2, Steedman. Here's another name that made me recall a person's first name from yesteryear. If you're a college football fan who remembers the 1970s, you will no doubt recall the vaunted teams of the University of Alabama and its checkerboard hat-wearing coach, Paul Bear Bryant. Steedman Shealy Jr. was a starting quarterback for the Crimson Tide's 1978 national championship team, whereas the family name Guy is found among traditional surnames in Ireland and England. Steedman is found among the English and Scots, but not the Irish. Steedman was introduced into the Isles by Teutonic folks. It meant dweller by or on a farmstead. One of the earliest lines of the family in the South that I could find began with the birth and life of Robert Steedman. Born in 1717, died in 1766. He greeted the world in Fifershire, Scotland, the home of the famous St. Andrews golf course. As an aside, I was able to play there twice, thanks to my boss, the good old Dr. Tony Parker. He was the director of the American Studies program at the University of Dundee, where I was an honorary teaching fellow. At any rate, Robert Steedman immigrated with his wife, Rachel Henderson Steedman, from Scotland to the upstate of South Carolina. Some of their descendants stayed in the Carolinas, while others moved on to Alabama. At the end of the day, I'm confident that Steedman is an antebellum family of Scottish or English origin. Number 3, Pounds. This is one of the most honorable surname origin stories I've read. In a sense, think dog pound, but in this particular case, it was a place in England to retain lost cattle or livestock. Why is that interesting, you might ask? Well, it has to do with the fact that folks were honest enough to put stray livestock in a place where they could be recovered by their rightful owners. Pigs, chickens, sheep, and cows could easily have been slaughtered and eaten by strangers. So hats off to those who managed a pound. The S, by the way, was added to signify the son of a man named Pound. The family's been in the South since before 1663. Several genealogists have published accounts of John Pound, who was born in that year. In Virginia, by the way. Some sources speculate that his father was also named John and that he came from Yorkshire, England. Lending support for a Yorkshire origin, one source claims that men in Reuben Pounds' line, which would be the grandson, I believe, of John Pounds, he was born in 1739, died in 1797. His paternal line carried the Y chromosome IM-253, which is well represented among Viking descendants. I can't confirm that he came from Yorkshire, but I can tell you that I did confirm the Viking DNA claim. Families named Pounds are well represented in Georgia and Mississippi. Their roots extend back to England and to the Vikings. Number 4, Church. Would you believe that this surname has everything to do with a Christian gathering place? It's Middle English for a dweller at or worker in a Christian church. Showing its deep Teutonic roots, check out these spelling similarities. In German, it's spelled Kirche, and in Scotland, it's called Kirk. Imagine the Starship Enterprise's James T. Kirk fictitious ancestors living by or working in a church somewhere in the Bonnie Land. While church is an English name, it's been on the Emerald Isle since the plantation era of the 17th century. By the way, I just did a 2-part series on how the monarchy pitted Scots and Irish folk against each other. The series went over like a belch in church, I'm afraid. It's hard to tell the truth and not offend someone's understanding of their ethnic history. They either exalt or demean their values. At any rate, you should check it out if you're interested in that topic. I'll put a link to them in the description. As one might expect from a purely English family name, it has a history in the South as well as the Mid-Atlantic and New England areas of the country. In fact, John Church, who was born in Connecticut in 1736, moved south to Virginia and then to North Carolina. Along the way, he married a striking young lady named Mildred Stamper. My best friend in first grade and second grade in elementary school was Paul Stamper. He was from Kentucky. We both lived in Detroit at the time. Interesting anyway. They had more than a dozen young'uns, with most of them living their lives in Wilkes County, North Carolina. Clearly, Church of the antebellum family with New England and English roots. Number 5, Fain or Fain. This surname has at least 3 different spellings and 2 different origin stories. Fain, F-E-I-N, is an Ashkenazi Jewish name, but it isn't as common in the South as Fain, F-A-I-N, or F-A-Y-N. Both of those forms of the name are of English derivation. Among the earliest Fain folks that I could find in the South was John Fain. He was born in Virginia in 1705. His grandson was Abraham Fain. He was born in Georgia in 1800. Together with his Georgia-born wife, Mary Cole Fain, they had the itch to move west, so they headed off into the setting sun. Abraham and Mary left a large family in Parker County, Texas. I'm confident that Fain or Fain is an antebellum family, but Fain, F-E-I-N, is not. I wasn't able to locate any of those spellings, by the way, among the traditional names of Ireland, Scotland, or Wales, so I'm confident that your paper trail will lead to England. Well, that's about all I have for you today, folks. I hope you got something meaningful out of the discussion and will join me again here on The Vantage Point. If you'd like a free copy of the list of names and families that we've covered thus far, write to me at vantagepoint22@gmail.com, and don't forget there's 2 N's in Vantage. I'll send it to you via email ASAP. Until we meet again, God bless you and yours. Bye-bye.